All right, the broadcast has started. So go ahead about Jim Brown. I just wanted to get this on the record.
Hey, now, well, hold on. Before we get to Jim, now I was just saying this, right? When I say F it, right? When I say F it, come on. See, I love black people too much to pull a Jim Brown to try to sell black people all the way out. When I say F it. Preacher, I'm gonna get me legs. I'm gonna have me like five women, 3 married, 2 not married. I'm gonna get like all the bill. Well, we're gonna raise a lot of building fund money. It's gonna go down. Jimothy Brown, get on. Let's get on y'all uncle. Somebody uncle. Who uncle that is?
That's, who ain't here? That's Miranda uncle.
There you go. Hey,
or
man.
Tammy,
Hey,
or
man.
Tammy uncle,
Oh,
or
yeah.
Delay Trey.
Wow. Wow.
That's DELA tree.
Hey, say it again. Say it again, Eric.
Oh boy.
You
so
lucky we live, and I don't want to go off on you and get in bad gracious with my Christian folks. I don't want them to see that side of me.
Don't do it. So listen.
On the wrong
So we're gonna start out with to tonight's video show was about the social codes, the codes for social engineering, because we got the calendar about to drop soon. So we want to talk about the codes and maybe get some examples of where we see the codes in society currently being either exposed where the code is being broken, or give shine a light on where the code is being used properly. So I had a debate with somebody because I've been talking about the codes nonstop. Anytime I even see an instance of it being used or abused, I pointed out, at least to myself, if nobody else. So I had a discussion about the Vegas rule, because that seemed to be the most controversial. Have anybody else got any rules that they might have talked to somebody about and they were kind of controversial to them?
The Sambo rule.
That one too. but the Vegas rule, where they, we were talking about what goes on in the Black community stays in the Black community, seemed to raise a lot of eyebrows, especially with Black feminists, because they believe that we are keeping things in the community hidden, and they don't get any exposure, and therefore no justice, blah 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 blah. So that was kind of, look at Joe, but that was kind of the one rule that I was going toe to toe about somebody. The Sambo one, I didn't get too much feedback on that. It was kind of like, I get you. But that Vegas rule, I got somebody who wanted to go back and forth with me on that one.
You know what? Everybody I presented the rules to, they absolutely loved them. I even let a pastor see the rules with all that cursing in it. He still said he loved the rules. As far as, and this is my gripe.
We had cursing?
Yeah.
We had cursing in the rules? That's Pat. Pat must have did that.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's cursing in the rules. But it's cursing.
Well.
But you know what? It's one of those, if you look at that rule and you see what happens in the Black community stays in the Black community as problems that aren't getting solved, that means that you are a part of the problem. Because think about it. We never said that it wasn't going to get addressed. Not once did we say what happened in the Black community won't get addressed. But what we are saying is what happens in I won't pull a Charles Barkley. I'm not pulling a Jim Brown. I'm not pulling a Stephen A. Smith. I'm not getting in front of white media, in front of white people, and bash Black people. So again, if that's what the only thing you took from that rule was that, you are a part of the problem, because we're not saying we're not going to discuss our issues. We're not going to correct our issues. We're not saying if John beating on Kim down the street, John ain't going to get checked about it. That's not what we're saying at all. So for them to take that from that, they're lost. They're so lost that they can't be saved. They don't deserve to abide by our code. They need to be in society where they're going to get mistreated, where no one is going to, they need to be amongst white privilege. If that's what they're taking from that.
They're also not looking at all the codes either, because the no bystander rule basically speaks to how we're going to address things within the community. And not just within the community, but making sure everything. So, you know, when you start talking about the issue, what you have to start, you know, looking at is the fact that Black feminists, the whole culture behind most feminists, not all, but most, because there's some Black feminist outfits that speak to empowering Black women. I'm cool with that. But for the most part, they partner up with agents of white supremacy, and what they often do is call white daddy to be the enforcers when it comes to issues or whatever within the community, and therefore they want to keep that that olive branch extended to their social controllers, their partners in crime, which are typically white men. And this is one of the things, you keep it in house. Start talking about keeping our issues in house. Basically, it cuts off that avenue to where they're getting their access from. And this is why, I see a lot of people talking about basically we've been covering up for Black men for all this time, when domestic abuse is a universal issue. It's not just within the Black community. In fact, I can argue that domestic abuse, got its origin within the white community. And it's one of those things that's transmorphed into our homes, into our bedrooms, into our houses, based on that, on those behaviors that have been learned over the years. So, to hear people speak like that, you're right. And they're the people that we need to start, considering outside to whatever movement we're trying to build. At this point, I'm not concerned about trying to convince those people who feel as though they have to be inclusive, or they have to fight or kick to make sure that white folk hear their pleas, because they think that they need to be rescued by members of the white community. So at this point, fuck them. Are we allowed to cuss on this broadcast?
Yeah. Yes. Well, it's we have already. So
we are now.
Okay.
Well, that is going to be something that we have to worry about as we continue to distribute these social codes. They are going to be attacked one by one, and they're going to use our community members to against us, to attack us on those codes. So, we need to develop within a strategy within our organization that speaks to how we're going to respond to those. And I don't believe we can actually say fuck them. I think we need to use a little bit more sugar on it. And
but you know what? This goes back to my post the other day where I said everybody that read don't comprehend. Reading does not mean comprehending. So when we're giving this code out, we're giving it out in hopes that they will comprehend it to the point where they're going to utilize it. Because reading comprehension is a lost art. It's a lost skill. Because again, that if a feminist argue, there's nothing to argue with their code. I shared with y'all what my brother-in-law said. He's a Muslim. And he said what he loved most about it is Christians, and you have the Quran and you have the Bible. Everybody's all over the place. But that code has no religious backing with it, to the point where every Black person should be able to follow that. Whether you're man, gay, white, not white.
What?
Man, gay.
Hey,
man,
hey,
gay.
Erica, turn turn on your camera now, because we
I can't. I told you I'm dressed inappropriate. Well, I'm not dressed. I don't. I'm comfortable. Let me put it that way.
all right.
Whether you're a female, male, gay, straight, Christian, Muslim, you should be able to follow that code. What's so hard about it? It's not even demanding. It's not demanding at all.
What's so hard about it is that we fight so hard to our nation with being black. So we want to hold on to. A lot of us want to hold on to those little titles or those little groupings that we become attached to. And because being black has been hey, what are you at? A lot going on back then. Because so many black people have disassociated themselves with being black, their communities that they've adopted has taken precedence over what being black means. Now we're talking about black empowerment. That means they have to look into all those different things, all those different factions that they put into, and acknowledge that they're stepping in the wrong direction. Because black empowerment means pretty much not necessarily to disassociate yourself with those other alignments, but the place I've got the silent on my pause. But to realign themselves or to realign their priorities behind the notion or the priorities of being black first. And in being black first, you can't necessarily kick to other agendas. You have to respond on code. On code, if we're on code and we're talking black first, then the process that we're looking at means that those other subset have priority behind, whatever being black person. A lot of those groups don't want to do that. And this is why I say fuck them, because these are the same ones that will be the cast stand down the things we're trying to build. These are the same ones. You gotta be moving towards easily subjectified. I mean, look at the Walter Scott case recently, and who is the biggest, traitor to the race? And who's the biggest advocate to making sure that Michael Slater didn't face any charges, but that he wasn't found guilty. There was a black man by the name of Dorsey Montgomery, who, from the obvious things looked like he had a lot of sugar in his tank. Add sugar there, add sugar there. He had sugar in his tank, and basically, he was co-opted. He had he had a case that was pending. He was about to do some jail time, and all of a sudden, the prosecutor drops the charges. So now, all of a sudden, because she got a compromised Negro on the payroll, this Negro led the charge to jury foreman to have the charges dropped against, or be found out, or to find Michael Slater not guilty, or for them to have a mistrial. Because you couldn't come to a conclusion because you actually had white people on that jury who were saying this was cold-blooded murder. But because we had a compromised Negro on it, and these are the ones that fit that characteristics, those who don't identify with being black, those that can be bought off, those that can be corrupted with or status. These are the ones that I say, listen, the American Revolution was fought and won with 3% of the colonists fighting in that war. If we get 3% of the black community together on any cause whatsoever, other than voting Democrat, then we would be able to move mountains. And we wouldn't necessarily, those other groups would have to come and they would have to align their priorities with ours, because we won't be yielding and will be the leading cause of black liberation. So I stand behind saying fuck them, because basically they'll be the first ones to sell us out. Joe is cracking up on
now they will. That's how, hey man, go to Jim Brown. Man, it's like, but we see what we up against. Like we see we got a lot of people that when they get their chance to show how much Jackie Robinson syndrome they got in them, let it all hang out. You know, like it's running rampant. JRS is running rampant around here in our society. I mean, you got so many people who just they chance to rub elbows and stuff like that, and it's like, come on, you know. But like you say, if we start history, then we know we're not gonna bring everybody with us. Those who want to do something different, that's on the same page. It's just up to us to organize like we're supposed to, and get it going, and move on.
I agree.
Yeah, and in the same respect, we still have to, continuously enforce the code some kind of way. And when I say enforce, that doesn't mean just exposing and or say this code exists. We need to be able to enforce it in some kind of way where I know Professor or someone else had talked about creating a list of people that do this and have it published so that people can refer to it often. You know what I'm saying? When you look at this list, these are people who are actually working against any type of Black empowerment. And so we have to, finding a way like that doesn't necessarily speak to them directly, but speaks to the other people directly is a must.
That's the sample rule.
Yeah.
That's the sample rule. See,
Yeah.
I'm on code.
Oh yeah.
That's the sample rule.
I'm trying.
I'm actually
trying.
No, I mean that. But even like what you were saying earlier, you started talking about the Vegas rule.
Mm-hmm.
Us being able to keep our business to ourselves, and being able to put into context, letting people know. People have to understand, and that the Black community need to keep our business to ourselves. That's not saying we sweep our problems under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
Broadcast not issues to everybody in the world. Like people don't know what's going on with us, just like we don't know what's going on with other people. But that don't mean that we just let our issues fester.
Mm-hmm.
Creating an environment to where these issues don't even exist. But that don't mean that if these are issues like for now, why issues handle these issues, we take care of the issues that we take care of. Nothing is getting swept up under the rug. It's just like it's not everybody's business what's going on in the Black community. We act like it's everybody's business. That's the whole purpose of the Vegas rule. And if somebody don't get that, no, maybe they was in one of them classrooms where they was in one class all day. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? That's good. It was I remember in my Angelo's book book. She talked about
there's all kind of social engineering that we're going up against, and so that's just kind of one of the things I wanted to speak to because we have to be real familiar with these rules. We can't just be in the trenches like we are and not know these rules back and forth when we see examples of them. We just can't take that type of study and observation nonchalantly. So because they're going to create all kind of diversions and distractions to negate following these rules. So that's just something that we need to keep in the back of our mind, and go from rule to rule. That's what I do, and I always end up at the good faith rule, where we are communicating and engaging each other within the Black community in good faith, using good communication skills, and that might even take a little bit time for people to learn, but once you master that, I think all the other rules, I think everybody might agree with me, will fall into place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. You know what? When Maya Angelou was molested, she said that. Yeah, we agree.
At least I thought it would.
Can you not hear
Say it again?
Erica?
Huh?
Can you, Monique? You can't hear Erica?
My bad. There you go, Erica. There you go.
I know she had kids. Look, when Maya Angelou was molested, the guy went to jail, and she said the next day he was found dead. That's what happens in the black community stays in the black community. That's how I look at that. No, I'm not saying that we kill people, but what I'm saying is when somebody do something wrong, in my opinion, the way I see it, when somebody do something wrong, we handle that. We could police ourselves, not to the extent where, because we don't want our men flowing in and out of the criminal justice system. Some of the stuff that they do can be handled on a lower level. Carl could go down the street and talk to that little boy about breaking into houses and tell him to stop. And if he don't stop, then there are consequences. But we don't have to involve, when we say putting white people in it, to the point where they don't have to go through our criminal justice system. But like you said, once all 12 rules are in effect, then some of this stuff just goes away naturally, out of respect for one another, out of respect to what we're doing and what we're building. It's gonna all correct itself.
Well, coons are happy with being coons until they get called on it, until they had a nigga wake up call. Then once they get that wake up call, all of a sudden they're out there talking about Black Lives Matter and putting up, tickets and banners and all sorts of things. So, this is look. I'm not gonna waste energy on those cats that aren't ready to move. We'll sprinkle it. Sister by the name of Shanice Starr, speaks to the concept of sprinkling people with consciousness and allowing for it to naturally take them and bring them to a point of understanding. That's where I'm at with this right now. I'm not necessarily, and I'm not telling nobody else, but I'm just personally not vested in trying to have that argument where to get people on board when they are most likely entrenched in their beliefs. And at this state, Black people, our people, love to handle situations from an emotional banner to the point where they're not necessarily looking to gain understanding. Is who can say it the loudest and who can say it with the most conviction, and that's who wins the argument, not who brings up facts, not who brings common sense, not who brings true merit to the table. So at the time you're arguing with people and they're talking in those circles, I'm like, all right, I understand how you feel, and we'll agree to disagree, and I'm gonna move on, because at this point it's too late in the game to be convincing people about what's happening. Now, I was thinking earlier today about how late it is in the game. It is really late for a lot of things that's taking place. I mean, we got world wars on the horizon that could change the whole climate of America overnight, and nothing we do right now, we're not being in a position to be ready to defend ourselves in that dealing with that reality. Because we're not organized, and we consistently are fighting, arguing with people who have shown us, within the community, that they would rather die holding their banner of being a feminist, of being a homosexual, of being an integrationist, of being one of those people that believe everybody's problems is Black people's problems, because oppression anywhere, oppression somewhere is oppression to everybody. So, I don't have the energy to fight with those people because we are at a point right now we're building, and we need to get. If there's enough like-minded people, we just have to get to them to get on board in terms of what's happening. There's so many. When we first started sharing the code of conduct, there were a lot of people gravitating towards it, and the energy got dispersed because basically we stopped sharing it. So, but we have to, get back to, pushing that as to get that to the people who are ready for it and the people who are ready to move on it. Those who, are procrastinators who consistently find ways to deconstruct the situation or to tear it down. Oftentimes, you look into their background, you take a look into their window, you see they have never built all they've done, their whole life, their whole career, tear down by trying to build, find reasons and flaws for why it won't work. And if you really look for flaws for something won't work, they're all there, because none of us are coming with the perfect plan. So there's always going to be a flaw. There's always going to be something that leaves somebody out, something that doesn't appeal to all folks involved. But instead of looking at the 90% of what we're presenting that's beneficial, people will slice and dice that 10% and then cause us to all sorts of delays. It's like a construction site. If we have an idea about the construct of 90% of this project, and it's the foundational part, then that 10% we can talk about after we start building. We can work on that 10% as I realize that 10%, that concept is not as different as we have a lot of people who place a lot of emphasis on the differences. And they put their foot in the sand, and that's where they draw their line. I don't have time to deal with them because if you look around, they're drawing lines, they can put themselves into a box. Let them have their box, let them have their sandbox, let them play in it. Let's deal with the people who are ready to build. So
what we know that certain things are put in front of us as ways to keep us spinning our wheels. I mean, we look at from on the other side where somebody like a Tommy Lauren, is put into a position at 20 something years old, and she just continues to speak in circles. And we put black journalists after black and journalists in front of her, and we give her an audience so that we can get in that circle with her on a hamster wheel and spin around and around and around. And that's how they keep us busy. So I'm not saying we need to give anybody an audience either, in terms of especially the people that are on our seemingly this will benefit them as well. There's a reward to them, but while we do that, we still need to strategize. We need to know when to ramp up our social engineering. We need to know when to create and develop new social engineering. We need to explore different mediums so that our social engineering can go in behind that and deconstruct those things that come up like that. We need to be expanding on our codes to create more codes to address certain things like that. So that's kind of my argument, or my side of the point of view.
Oh, I got you. And
that's the echo.
I heard that.
It's the government again.
It was sounding real good when we first started, so I'm not sure what happened. I'm trying to change my settings, but everybody's still going. I'm gonna put my mic on mute.
I think like with everything, it becomes necessary to put the codes in context. Like I've noticed that a lot of the arguments I get from people that don't necessarily agree with all of them are people that want to remove them from their proper context. So, like with the with like you guys were saying with the no Vegas rule, a lot of the arguments we've already said have been from people that assume that means that we're not going to talk about anything. And to make that assumption means that you're taking the code out of context. The context is that we're not going to speak to outsiders about issues, not that we're not going to speak about the issues at all. One of the other things that I've had people beef with me with is the no generalization rule, which again is taken outside of context. I mean, if you read the verbiage of the rules, no negative generalizations or smear campaigns against other community members. It's not saying necessarily that you can't generalize at all, and it's not saying that you can't make broad statements or things like that. The context of the rule is you don't say anything about black people in general that can be used against black people in mass. So it's a lot of this is just context. I've actually had at least one person, because when I shared the rule, I shared it with known simps that I knew would look for something to tear down. So I actually got negative feedback from every rule except the good faith rule, the conservation of energy rule, and the levels to this rule. Every other rule, they managed to dig up at least something that they didn't agree with, which was interesting to me to highlight that those were the 3 rules that they couldn't find anything to disagree with. But you know, I think context is with everything. As we share these rules, as we talk about them, as we get people to understand, they need to understand that certain rules are just rules for how we interact with each other. Certain rules are rules for how we interact with outsiders. Certain rules are just general behavioral rules. We do need a system of enforcement. I agree with Monique on that, but you know, like with all of these things, you know, I just think context is key. I haven't heard a single argument against any of the rules where they left it in context and was still able to debate something. I haven't heard that or seen that one single time. Every time I've seen somebody dispute a rule, they were taking it out of context. And to me, that means something. That says a lot. That means that they're well constructed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
That's awesome right there. You know, one of my biggest concerns was that, you know, there'll be campaigns against some of these rules, especially. But the good faith rule, levels to this, and what else? Conservation of energy. I like that. It's hard to see where somebody would have any issues with cracking the concrete.
Cracking the concrete, you bring. That's when rugged individualism comes in. They have a bunch of different arguments and beefs behind it, but for the most part, I actually think that actually you.
What?
I'm watching a little bar jump on your screen while I talk.
It might be the microphone.
Yeah.
What about
now? Nope, seems to be gone.
Oh. All right, cool.
But yeah, the cracks in the concrete rule, that was basically rugged individualism. They were saying that, so what if I made it out? It's not my responsibility to take care of other people. It's their responsibility to take care of them. The positive acknowledgement rule, that when somebody said, well, what if a black person stole from me, I shot my mama or something like that, I still got to positively acknowledge them. And it, you know, so it's just silly shit like that mostly.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to be able to combat that type of logic. But, you know, you know, that point of view, looking at the codes, I'm definitely in agreement with Pat that that means they were well constructed, and you know, I think they encompass a lot of some of the faceted issues that we see on a daily basis. And did we have a rule that spoke to unplugging from? I guess the good faith rule talks about unplugging from social media or the indoctrination machine or conditioning. I thought we needed something that addressed that specifically because, you know, I think people don't understand, even for me, a person who is inundated with images has to work on the other side of things. Most commonly, I get the information in. I'm getting it. So every now and then I have to unplug from it too and step back and you know, get connected to get indoctrinated with certain concepts. So I don't know if we have a rule that speaks directly to that. I gotta look for something in there that talks to that.
We don't, not directly, but again, the rules are you know, it's a living list. It's a living document. You know, if we need to add something to it, we can. You know, it's you know, that's one of the beautiful pieces of it is that, you know, when and all of us were there because we all made it together. We spoke on it being a living document. I do think the know yourself rule,
Okay.
that can kind of be twisted to include breaking away from that, because knowing yourself is not only is that knowing your history, who you are, where you came from, but it's also recognizing your capabilities, limitations, and attributes as your current iteration, if you believe in reincarnations and all that. So if you know yourself, it's time to take a break from social media, because I'm starting to get a little ratchet.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's right. You know what? These were really good. Y'all did good. This was awesome right here. I can't
No,
brag enough.
y'all, you were on there. You were on there with the rest of us. It was me, you, Joe, the professor, and I think there was somebody else on the line as well.
Okay. That was the business right there, because these are really well constructed in terms of being able to hit as many areas of society as we were able to hit. So um, all right, so yeah, so that's a pretty good consensus right there. We only had three rules that make the cut with just about everybody, and we understand that. I think I was really in love with levels to this rule. I could talk about that all day long, maybe because I have to deal with it on a daily basis. But like I said, the consensus was the good faith rule was one of those all around rules that if you start with that and you learn and master that, then things, the other rules will fall into place. And speaking of mastering that, we also probably want to develop programs around that where people can get rewards for recognizing it, and not rewards but just a mention or something for recognizing when they see things are happening. So I'm excited about the future of these codes and the limitless potential. I actually go to sleep thinking about ways they can be, you know, the ways what we can use to reach people with these codes.
Definitely,
Most
definitely,
definitely.
definitely gonna do some changing of people's ideologies. We're definitely going to plant some seeds with these codes. The goal is to get people on code so we can uh, move toward us having our independence. Professor got the vision. I mean, there are other people talking about it, but the professor and presenting the vision of the independent Black community and in the form of a documentary. So putting it in people's faces, and I think it's going to go hand in hand, especially with a lot of other stuff that we got coming as a group and as individuals. So it's promising because we actually have something, and we live in a day and time where you get it in front of people's faces faster than in the past. But also looking at the past, how they were still able to use the technology they had, which was light years behind what we have now. Still use technology what they had to get the message out and get support from people. We was able to get 6 million people in the United States alone. So with these codes, getting people on code is huge for the Black community, and it's going to be a great catalyst for us moving forward.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome insight there in terms of the impact that we're going to have with this. So I'm excited. And speaking of the Independence Day project, because that's something that is, like you said, goes right along with that. But y'all don't forget to keep supporting the Independence Day project. Go to the let me get it right, www.wauboutus.com. All right, see, I got that right there. So don't forget to go see, stay in tune with the progress, what's going on, stay, support the project, find out what's going on so you can contribute and volunteer, all that kind of good stuff, because
Right.
it's a shared vision. So that means that we all have to put in and make this happen. I always love to hear the analogy about you know similar visions coming to fruition. So, but I won't get into that because that's Professor's area of expertise. But nevertheless, that is something where when the social codes that we definitely want to continue to support these independent Black communities that are going to be about.
Yeah, I know. One of the reasons why I think we don't have support is because something Monique just said. Um, People see this as Carl's Independence Day project. They see PAX as, when I post all this, Erica's organization. But I think people miss the point of our motto. Erica, Patrick, Monique, Joe, Carl, we're not the we. And I think, again, it goes back to the comprehending when you read, we're not we. It's not just us that make up that we. When I came up with that slogan, I meant the Black community as a whole is what the Black community is waiting for, not one set individual. There's not another Dr. King, won't be one. Not another Malcolm X, won't be one. Not another Marcus Garvey, there won't be one. We as a whole, we're what we're waiting for. And when people see us doing things and we're asking them to contribute, Erica don't have money to fund her own nonprofit. Carl don't have money to fund his own Independence Day project. They don't realize that it's your Independence Day project. This is your nonprofit organization, because this is nothing without your help.
I totally.
So I think that's why we don't get the support we need, because people look at it as supporting us individually versus because they don't see the need. They don't see the emergency of it.
Erica makes a good point. One of the things that I found useful in getting the limited volunteers that we have gotten, even in terms of the people that have said they'd be willing to help out in the future, the bodies on standby, if you will. A lot of them, outside of those that are in the PACS discussion group, don't know my connection to PACS. I just tell them this is an organization I work with. And that has been, it's something I did because I didn't want anybody to feel like it was mine, or it was, I was some decision maker or whatever. And so that has worked wonders, I will say, in terms of getting people to even listen to me talk about PACS, is to tell them, look, I'm working with this organization that's really for the Black community. Oh yeah, tell me about it. So now we can have a conversation. And I've noticed that the energy around the conversation is a lot different than if I were to say, I have this organization called PACS and blah, 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 blah. It's a whole different energy. It's a whole different conversation. So that might be something we might need to, in the marketing plan, for right now, while we're still growing and developing. Maybe we are a faceless organization where when we speak of it, we just talk about organization I'm working with. I know I've seen the professor do that in some of his videos and things like that, where he never really comments on his connection to the organization. He just says a wonderful organization that I'm working with, or a powerful young organization, or blah, blah, blah. So maybe we do. And I don't know that anybody is doing that, speaking directly to their position in it, but I do think maybe that is something that in terms of our interactions with people as a whole, maybe we could take that approach, or maybe make that more of a forced approach, is to say, this organization that I'm working with, or make people think about it that way, or to, what I'm saying, to to make them I mean, it's slightly misleading, but you get what I'm saying, right? I'm not talking to
I did that in business. For the most part, I never let anybody know that I'm the business owner of my own darn businesses.
right,
So
right.
I do that most commonly there. But I do have the gift of discernment and being able to recognize my audience and who I'm speaking to when I start talking. Because there are people that when they see me donate to certain things, they follow the leader. And so they just say, okay, if Monique is doing it, then, I'll do it. So I try to make some type of personal connection to certain things, especially if I say, you know what, I believe in this, then people tend to, be like, oh, okay. Now I don't speak to any positions of that because I'm totally always against that kind of stuff because my phone would be ringing off the hooks for, like, what can you do for me specifically? They ain't gonna care about nobody else in the black community. They just gonna want to know what I can do for them. So, that's something that I try to keep that down. I try to not stoke that fire a whole lot, so I don't get burned or get some ashes on my pants or something, so I don't know. But, uh, nevertheless, I do try to make a personal connection depending upon the audience that I'm speaking to.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, I got
Chess
you.
game.
But
It's a chess game.
Yes.
Yeah.
But even in speaking to what Erica was saying, because I mean it's we got people who are hesitant to support what we have going on right off the bat, but it's all gonna move. It's all gonna move. It's all gonna do what it needs to do. Because the Independence, especially the Independence Day project, it's a film that's needed, and when people see it, they're gonna see useful information. It's gonna grow, and it's gonna keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. So we just gotta do what we need to do on our end and put our energy and our mindsets toward and put our best foot forward, and we would make it work. But I do feel your frustration, though. I know we all be frustrated with amount of support that we are, or the lack of support things that we're doing, especially things that we create that we create not in selfish intent, but we create for that or things that can benefit the community. And when the response isn't, I guess, a response that we know could help people, then frustration sets in. But yes. Yeah, man, we know where we at and we know what we dealing with, so we don't keep pushing.
I've actually been pretty content since I got off social media, or since I got off Facebook, should I say?
Yeah.
Not just Facebook, social media in
Well,
general. Because you realize that when you realize what people go on social media for,
Yeah.
there is a level of power just in that realization alone. There's a level of comfort and a level of sanity protection just in that alone. When you realize people aren't going on social media to become active in the cause, they aren't going on social media to go shopping, they aren't going now. Can you utilize social media to pull heartstrings and get things to happen and manipulate people? Of course you can. But is that the reason why people are going to social media? No, it isn't. So with that, know yourself rule. I know me. I don't have the energy to manipulate people on social media into doing what I need them to do. So I don't try anymore, which is why my page has a post every 3 or 4 days now. Most of my outreach nowadays is in the form of emails, text messages, and phone calls, direct, real world personnels, blah blah blahs. And I found that to not only be a lot more efficient, but a lot more exciting and pleasing. To my sanity and to everything else I got going on. It's a lot easier for me to be a happy person that way, because when I was on social media, like when I was on Facebook, it was every day was a rage against the system. Like I just wanted to punch a hole in the wall every single day. The fuck is wrong with these people, man? Why are they so stupid? Why don't they get it? Why do they not care? Why are they so excited about a girl with big titties twerking with a period pad on, and they not worried about, you know, this over here, what's going down on, like, you know. So once I got out of all of that, and it's hard to kick the social media habit. It's difficult. That's a real live addiction.
Right.
We might have to really be sending. We need to be sending the community members to social media rehab. It's real. It's not even a joke. We need to set something up like that, and we just need to start following people through it. I know people that I got a dude right now. I'm not gonna say his name. Don't worry, bro. I'm not gonna say your name.
All right.
He's
He's not on the video call, right?
he might find it though. I know he watch a lot of shit. And so I don't know. Hell, he might be watching right now. This dude has confessed that he is literally checking his social media accounts while he's making love to his wife.
Oh,
That is a serious level of addiction, bro. Like, that might be worse than cocaine.
Or it's the sex is that bad.
I don't care how bad the sex.
The sex has to be that bad.
That's a fact.
And you know what? It's bad. It's not even social media.
No,
again, his mind is not even on sex. That means her mind isn't on sex. So why are they having sex?
No, well, for one, you gotta accept the fact that one, they married. So I gotta believe that my dude wouldn't marry nobody with bad. No. You know what I'm saying?
No, I disagree. I
said I gotta believe my dude wouldn't marry somebody with. But even to that.
But hang in there.
But even to that though, even to that point, like, that would be minimizing the impact of addiction and the impact of this level of addiction by saying if he got with somebody that had good poontang, he wouldn't still be checking his social media accounts. I don't believe that to be the case at all. I believe that no matter how good the girl is, he's addicted. He's gonna be checking his social media accounts. That's like saying that a crackhead will do crack over eating food because the food ain't good. No, the addiction is that strong. Now, I'm not saying his old girl game. I don't know what she got. I ain't never had sex with her, so I can't.
It's weak.
I can't.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, Monique.
Yes.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Hear me. There is no way.
You can't say no way.
Twitter, Instagram, live and letting people watch. I'm trying to figure out, because how in the world? Social media.
He's not letting people watch. He's not live.
I'm being sarcastic. Because there's no way.
He just said, but that's the thing, like, and that's the part where we have to understand about addictions. Like, when I say social media is a real live addiction, a lot of the times we like to minimize the power of an addiction.
No, I never seen a crackhead hitting a rock doing sex.
You've never what?
Shoot.
You've never what?
Shoot.
I don't know any crackheads.
You've been around.
I was finna say, I know plenty of crackheads that will turn down sex for a rock.
I ain't say
turn it down.
Yes,
turn it down. But
man,
I know crackheads that could be in the middle of fucking outside, and if you wave a rock in front of them, they will come up off of that sex to go get the rock.
But they're not hitting it during the act.
They will.
You're right. They're gonna stop doing
it. You know what?
That
even speaks to her. Why would you allow that to happen?
Who said? Well, no, but see, again,
because if she don't know he on social media, then some ain't right. But we could go back. I get your point.
No, but again,
I don't really think, Pat. I don't think you're gonna get Erica and I to agree on. I definitely won't change my mind on this, no matter how much y'all talk about this and go around. I already know. So
no, I'm not trying to change nobody's mind on whether or not her sex game is whack. That's not even the point.
Well, not necessarily the individual as much as I think most, the women especially know the power. I'm sorry. If there's going to be a cure for social media, conditioning, some kind of vaccine or inoculation, I could tell you what it's going to involve.
I guarantee you, if it's a real live certifiable addiction, regardless of how good a girl poontang is, it's not gonna overpower that addiction. It is not.
But my thing is, Patrick, they're both whack. It ain't just.
But I don't
they're
think
both. They're having boring whack sex. It ain't just her.
But I don't think. But see, you guys are trying to. Again, you guys are, in my opinion, what you're doing is saying it's not that he's addicted to social media. It's that the sex is whack. It doesn't matter how good the sex is. If you're addicted to something like sex, I love sex probably more than most people. And if you trust me, I like sex a lot. But I can't sit here and say that because I like sex and I don't have any addictions, I can understand and put that on somebody that does have addictions. Because I understand the difference in dynamics, the difference in personality, the difference in behaviors, the differences in motivating drives, the differences in the functioning of a human brain that has an addiction and the human brain that doesn't have an addiction. And I'm not talking about on some casual level, I'm saying people are genuinely hardcore addicted to social media.
It wouldn't be just, I think, Pat, just something that you have to consider is that it just wouldn't be social media. It just because, like I said, I'm not going to change my mind. The sex is whack and they have a whack married sex. He would be looking to do something. It wouldn't be just his social media. It would just be something else to get his attention. So, you know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion.
I agree. He just have an addictive personality.
We can agree
to something.
I can't agree with that because he's not addicted to anything else.
Well, he doesn't have to be. He's getting both his needs met at the same time.
All right, no,
we can agree to disagree on that, but at the end of the day, my point is still that people are legitimately addicted to social media. Now, whether we want to pretend that sex can fix that issue or not, that's a whole separate discussion. But the fact of the matter is that people are still very much addicted to social media.
Right.
And that has to be something we have to fix.
That's true. I mean, I could agree with that. People are addicted to social media. That's why sometimes from time to time I do take breaks, because I find myself picking up my phone and the first thing I do is I'm on Facebook so yeah, I could definitely agree. We have to break that away because a lot of us don't know how to we don't live in real life anymore. They got even a saying now, that it's going on in real life. You don't have to say real life because where else would it be going on? Oh yeah, social media. Because people on social, it's so bad that I know a girl that I was in high school with. She used to get picked on, cracked on, but then now on social media, she's this big bag boss. She don't have a picture of who she really is and what she really look like. She always cracking on people. And I'm sit back, I'm like, girl, one of your eyes look left and the other one looking straight. But you on here talking about people. But people don't know what she look like in real life. Because she get to get on Facebook and she get to be something totally different. A lot of the realest people, I believe, don't do social media sometimes because they like, people get on there and they talk real big bad noise. So yeah, I definitely get that. People they get to go and be whoever it is they want to be. They could be rich. They could be beautiful. You got filters to make yourself look beautiful. You pretend like you got money, post. So I get it. It's a break from reality.
Yeah.
Hey. Hey. Yeah.
I wish I had an answer for it. But no, most people, that's the unfortunate part. But we gotta be real. It's most our people that feel that way for the most part. I'm gonna say everybody. I'm not gonna just say black folk. That is just strictly black people who feel that way. But that's all only people I'm actually concerned about is black people. So I really don't give a damn about no other community. To be honest with you. And our struggle is the fact that we are consistently finding ways to escape our reality. Before it was drugs, before, you know, it was moving out of the hood. Now it's social media. And all of these things have one thing in common, and that it's escapism. You know, we have a lot of escapism going on. It's a fight or flight syndrome, and we're running away from our civic responsibilities and duties. And you know, it's further along because I still see a lot of brothers and sisters post on how lost this next generation is. And I'm like, well, who the hell raised them?
That's right.
You know, it's easy to point the finger and you know, kick the problem to the curb, and then when the curb kicks back, you know, start blaming the curb for all the issues and problems, or you know, blaming those who we kick to the curb for the problems. But we have a syndrome in our community called minding our own business syndrome, where we'll see things happening, watch it progress, and consistently pass on the responsibility of dealing with it or addressing it to somebody else. And eventually, will that problem, you know, rears its ugly head and is pointed in our direction. All of a sudden, now it's everybody's problem. It's been our problem all along. And as a community, we are failing in that regard, which is why I tune out. What do they call it? Unplug. I unplug every once in a while because you get consumed by a bunch of people who, you know, who are not as invested in what you're trying to do as you are, but they have an opinion. And what you think about social media, everybody feels like today could be my day to be Malcolm X, or today could be my day to be Sojourner Truth. But in all actuality, without having to earn that particular prestige or earn that particular place or honor to get in front of a group of people and to actually engage in discourse that is beneficial to, you know, our growth. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have now, is that the entitlement that comes with a lot of those things, and it comes with the without the work ethic. We're entitled to do things, and social media makes that all possible. Whereas social media is a powerful tool, and we use it as a toy. And that's and I'm not trying to make a blanket statement for the whole community, but 97% of the community uses social media as a toy, not for networking, not for building, and not for being constructive. So it is definitely addictive because people get to recreate who they are. They become, you know, there used to be a post, used to be a meme that actually talked about the fact that social media is the place where everybody can go and become the person you always wanted to be, and you know, leap tall buildings with a single bound and all this other fancy fly stuff. But the bottom line is, you know, it can be addictive, and to certain people who have those issues, you know, we have to take into consideration we're living in a digital era. In the digital era, there's this thing called flicker rates, and these flicker rates are used often to entrap the minds of a lot of people with propaganda, and there's a lot of psychological warfare taking place. So a person could be psychologically, just like I had a cousin who was so addicted to video games, like the old Intellivision. For those of you who are not old enough to know what Intellivision was, it was the rival to ColecoVision and Atari. And they had a joystick that looked like a phone, and inside the phone there was a disc that you used with your thumb to you know, control whatever player you're using. And it got to the point where he had blisters on his thumb because he would play the game so much. And it was pure addiction. To this day, he's still addicted to video games, but it's not as bad as it used to be because he actually has to work for a living. But the bottom, it was one of the things that was giving him seizures because of the addiction. And those things in mind, with that in mind, we have to pay attention to the fact that the computer screens that we look to, the cell phones, all those things have addictive qualities that tap into specific frequencies that keep us in tune to them, keep us, it provides a certain type of psychological stimulation that makes us more adapt to wanting to get that stimulation on a consistent basis. Now, having that during sex is extreme, but it's definitely understandable. And then when you start equating the two, then it's almost like a commercial that equates sex with a beer or sex with cigarettes. You know, you start to smoke a cigarette, you start getting sexually aroused. Well, if you can equate sex with social media, and you start to get aroused, that might be the only way this brother can have sex. So it's very, very symptomatic, especially, you know. You know, as long as he don't need both hands, I guess he's all right.
I mean, but like when you say that, like, you know, they've had documentaries where they had people who had like these addictions and spend like 10 hours in front of the computer just looking at these certain sites and things. I mean, it's a, you know, you got people who going to the left, but I do agree with what you said earlier. You know, we can use social media for our benefit, and these circles of people who actually who come to social media with their game plan, with their mission, and their group of people are all in the same mindset, and they're constantly using social media to build whatever they're building towards. And it's like ideally we would like us as Black people to work like that as a whole, but you know, it's just us within the people, so that we can connect with, being able to, when we come to social media, not trying to use it as an escape, you know, not trying to use it as, you know, a coping mechanism or whatever we use in social media for, looking for that entertainment aspect, and use social media to actually build, to actually move forward with certain things that we will only put on social media, because I mean, everything don't need to be put on social media, but use it for our advancement, and stop using it just for entertainment or escapism and things like that. Being able to utilize our resources, and I feel like we're not necessarily doing that. But of course, you know, like we said, people not coming to social media for that. So us connecting with the people who have that same mindset and being able to use the social media like that, because outside of that, I mean, it's pretty much tomfoolery all the time. I mean, let's just be real. Unless you get some news stories here now and then, but most of the time it's just, like you said, crazy stuff. I mean, like the other day, it was Monday or Tuesday here in Tallahassee, they had sex tapes going all up and down Facebook, and everybody going crazy like they ain't never watched porn before. But I mean, like the city was buzzing. Like, I'm talking about the whole city was buzzing off this sex tape. You would have thought something real was happening, like some real issue was going on, or somebody won something, or somebody did something good in life. But nah, it's a sex tape that everybody want to see. And then they say, oh, and it might be child pornography. And they'll be like, oh, now I really want to see it. And I'm like, did y'all just hear that disclaimer? It might be child pornography. And you said, well, tag me in it. Yeah, y'all crazy, man. Y'all, but that's where our mindset is, though.
And you know something else too, though, and think about it. I think, especially as men get older, sex is good. Sex is a good thing. I'm getting back to the sex thing, Joe. Sex is good.
It is.
But I think a lot of women understand, specifically with men, as the older you get, the closer sex becomes just an extension of masturbation. And especially if you don't have a physical, especially if you don't have an emotional attachment to the person, you know, it just becomes an act. And this is why a lot of times guys get in trouble, because they go out there having sex, think it's not a big deal, because honestly, the sex is not a big deal to them. Not necessarily the contract between whoever they're with, but the actual fact that the act of sex itself is not necessarily seen as a deal breaker for men. Now, we also understand that women have more of an emotional attachment to sex, and this is why a lot of men get hot under the collar. A man can cheat about 40 times and say, listen, she ain't mean shit to me. A woman can cheat one time, and the man will be like, you know what, this shit is over.
Yeah.
And I'm not just this is how people, I know a lot of men who cheated on their woman, and then when she cheats on them that one time, the motherfuckers they're devastated. They're devastated. Because they know. That's
so funny.
Yeah, and I'm not justifying it, and I'm just, speaking to that one part. Now, I don't want to get too much deep into it. I'm saying I don't have shit to lose by making these comments.
Straight up.
No, I think one, I realize the example I gave is an extreme case, and he is an extreme case, and I use him because he is an extreme case. But you know, when we talk about addiction, well, when we talk about why people come to social media, they come to social media, like you guys said, to escape. Not, you know, like now I say 90% of the people that come to social media to escape real life. And that's the problem with trying to reach people on social media. You are trying to bring real life to a place that they came to escape real life. So you know, we kind of got to deal with that aspect of it. But in terms of addiction, you know, I just, we really need to understand that there are a lot of addictions going on in our community. And attention is one of them. You know what I'm saying? Anytime you get to a point where you need to do something and it's causing more harm than good, it's causing, you know, like this same person has been written up at his job for checking his social media accounts during meetings. You know, he's been on the brink of being fired several times for checking social media. And it sounds silly to say, like, what kind of asshole don't know how to check their social media account without getting caught on the job, or don't know how to, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's, you know, when you realize that it is an addiction, the power of an addiction, and how that affects people and how it goes into play and this, that, and the third, all of it really becomes, you know, it begins to take shape and form a picture that is very distressing, you know, especially looking out in the community and seeing, I think Facebook has what, like 900 and what is it, like 900,000 or 900 million or 900,000 or something like that. I think it's 900 million users.
That's probably
And you look at how many of them post, you know, the average person, I think last I read it said post 2 or 3 times a day. So, okay, so that's average. So that's, okay, so we're going to say that's 400 million people doing that, or 450 million people doing that. What about all the people that are above average, that are posting 5, 6 times a day, 7, 8 times a day, 9, 10 times a day? How many posts does it take to become addicted to posting? You know what I'm saying? Like, how many daily posts does it take before you start counting your likes, counting your comments, counting all of that stuff, and then you become emotionally attached to those likes, those comments, those views, and now they're shaping your mood. Now you need
Hashtag
them.
poetic.
You know, right? Hashtag too deep. Hashtag poetic.
There you go.
Now you need that stuff. You need it in order to function. And when you post your good morning post and you don't get 25 likes, your whole day is ruined. You know what I'm saying? Like, so now you spend the rest of the day trying to make up for the attention you didn't get on your good morning post. And you just think about how many lives play out like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people, even to the point of telegraphing their moods and their moves, what they're going to do. You know, they'll wake up, today is a shitty day, so I'm going to just call my boss, I ain't going in. Why the fuck do you feel the need to tell us that? Why do you care?
Well, my thing is, though, it's gonna be a pill. Just like when y'all remember when restless leg syndrome hit the scene, I was like, man, just be still. But you know, we're gonna have a pill for this right here.
Hey, what's the side effects gonna be? Running nose, irritable bowel syndrome, urinary tract disease, anal leakage, gonna cause your heart to stop and move to the right side.
Definitely insomnia.
Right.
I ain't you don't diagnose me. I be looking strange at my doctor, man, because that's some no thank you.
I had to get my sister. I told her, look, don't be posting pictures of your food on Facebook. What the hell's wrong with you? Don't do that. Nah, we ain't getting caught up in these trends where, you know, we're living our lives vicariously through social media. I hate when my family tags me on pictures. I don't even want nobody know. I was outside, a damn crackhead walked up to me like, yo, you was out of town today. I'm like, how the fuck you know? You know, I'm like, I don't like nobody knowing. None of my business whatsoever. And especially through social media. Now, these cats, you know, they got other ways, you know, home and not home. But I'm probably going to have a nice little conversation with some of hopefully they'll understand, after the first and second smack. But the bottom line is, we definitely have a situation where this becomes la la land, but it does shape people, and you got people with like 5 and 6 different accounts, so it ain't just Facebook they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram, they're on Snapchat, they're on all sorts of different things and all these different mediums, and all it is basically is a nice fat surveillance grid for the government to watch us and monitor everything we're doing.
Exactly.
Having to get a damn subpoena, because these third-party contracts, that all of us agree to when we allow Google or Apple to, sign us up with these phone contracts that are tied into our internet accounts and our email accounts. Basically, state that we are giving them permission to sell all of our private information to these information collecting agencies, and then these information collecting agencies have contracts with different forms of law enforcement. I mean, Facebook was just on the news a few weeks ago. About a month ago for getting in trouble for actually selling information to where the protesters in Ferguson were. Tipping them off as to where they were protesting, where they were meeting at, where they were linking up at, based on people's inboxes and things of that nature, and they were just giving it to law enforcement. So, the fact is, even when we start talking about, well, we're going to be partying over here, this whole particular location, I'm going to be at that particular location, you basically just gave somebody your information in terms of basically told them where you were, and you told them where you wouldn't be. And, I am not of the belief that there's not some funky shit going on with these alphabet agencies and specifically within our. Pay attention over the next few months to what happens to those leading activists for that Dakota Access pipeline that they just shut and that they won that small little victory over there. Pay attention and watch how many of them just start dying and dropping off like fleas, and then they're going to in a year or two quietly, begin construction on that pipeline again, because they have too many billions and trillions of dollars invested. Through social media, they find us wherever we are. Just the same way as they got for those protesters who were filing a lawsuit for Flint, and then all of a sudden, like 5 of them just ended up getting killed. And nobody goes to jail, nobody gets in trouble, because the people who do this shit are above the law. And this is why, our system, our penal system is bullshit. And this is why I want the people that was giving Erica a hard time earlier today, this is why I say fuck them. Because they're the same ones who will rely on this system only because they know the system will punish black men. And they're enemies to the community as far as I'm concerned. Because I'm not doing anything that's going to punish black women. I'm not doing anything that's going to punish black children. If I see some shit, listen, I gave an elder who, looked like she was struggling, I gave her a couple of dollars earlier today while she was outside of the ATM that I went into. And she was just holding it in her hands. And, there's people walking up and down the street. And as I'm at the ATM, I'm wondering if I'm going to have to go outside and slap somebody for trying to rob this sister, because I know just how dirty cats can be. And my approach is, and just be clear, the ATM was inside of a police department. So coming out, I'm thinking a whole scenario. If I'm smacking somebody for doing something wrong to this elder, and the police come running out, I'm gonna send whoever on their way. Why? Because I smacked them up. They served their sentence. I was the judge, jury, and executor of the sentence. I'm smacking you up on the street for doing the dirty shit, and I'm gonna send you on your way. Please turn around, and my job with them would be to run interference between him and the police or whatever. Why? Because I'm not associating with nobody, interfering with the ongoings of my community, and I'm not putting another brother in jail because they had a moment of stupidity.
Agreed.
Now, you knocked the sister down, you heard it, that's a different story. And I'm gonna let them unleash the dogs on you. But and I go through that. I went through that whole scenario. I honestly went through that whole scenario as I was walking back to the door to make sure she put her money away, because I didn't want anything to happen to her. I didn't want to have to mess nobody up to dealing with that situation. So, but we have to look at all these things really with a critical eye, because The system is watching it. Now they don't have enough control to actually monitor us individually. So it's like what Patrick was saying a while ago. They wait for us to do something shady, and then they backtrack and look at all the connections to that person or individual. Right now they're watching, but they're not they're cataloging us, but they're not really watching us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So right now we're still under the radar in a lot of things, and we can stay under the radar for a very long time because we're not the only ones talking this talk. But for the most part, you know, with social media, I think that in a way it's good that we have those people out there acting silly, because while they're acting silly, they're putting up camouflage for people like us that's actually doing real work behind the scenes.
I agree with that. I do think that's a good point. That's actually something I never thought about before. But I do think in terms of social media, we have to, we that want to use it for the enormous potential for good that it has, have to acknowledge what it is now. And we, you know, it's one of them things where it's like, okay, what's good about it? This is great. The ability to communicate with large groups of people instantaneously. That's wonderful. Okay, do we need this current system in order to do that? Can we recreate that elsewhere? Of course we can, but then you run the trouble of getting people to leave. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, well, do we need everybody to leave? No, not really. We only need the people that are about business to leave. So that should be a much easier and much more attainable goal. We don't need to create another black Facebook. Like you got all these black social media things popping all up. They trying to swap out your addiction to white people's social media for an addiction to black people's social media, where they basically gonna do the same thing that the white people are doing to you. It's just they got a black face, so you feel better about it. So I think for me with social media, it's just okay. If like even with just us, if I could find a spot where just us could come together, be comfortable, have the same functionality, utility, ease of access, and all of that we have on Facebook, and a private place, which I'm constructing. I'm trying to construct several of them, but none of them match the utility of Facebook right now. But if I could find something like that for just us, and then slowly spread it out through known associates, people that we know are about that life, that's a win for me. We don't need 5,000 members, because 150 could change the nation.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
You had 150, man.
So, but at the same time, I don't blame the government for spying. To be honest, like that's what they supposed to do. Like I don't understand why people get mad at the government for doing what the government is supposed to do. That is
because they don't understand.
That is what those people are supposed to be doing, because they are monitoring for threats. You are a threat. They are looking for you. They're supposed to look for you. Why do you think that they're not? Why do you think the system would allow somebody that's intent on bringing it down to survive within it unchecked? That doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not mad at the government for doing what it does. When you share all your information on a public forum like social media, you're asking the government to find you, track you, and kill you if you get out of line. You're basically saying, I'm a terrorist, slaughter me. That's what you're saying. Please kill me, because I'm not smart enough to do what I'm doing without dying, and I don't really want to succeed anyway. Otherwise, I wouldn't be all in public with it. So please murder me, is what you're saying. So I can't get mad at the government for doing what it does, utilizing social media, Instagram, Snapchat me that. I'm sorry, that's what I call it, but that's not what. And all these other things, like, you know, like, so I don't know, bro. I look at everything different. When I see people posting those pictures of their dinner plates, I'm in the bathroom. I even seen some people doing Facebook live streams from the bathroom on the toilet. I'm on the toilet and my baby just knocking on the door. Why do we care to listen to you on the toilet or to listen to your baby knocking on the door while you're on the toilet? Why do we care? You know what I'm saying? Like that. I don't know, but that's the way. When I see stuff like that, I'm like, okay, so you want people to think foolish shit about you. That's what you want. That's your goal in life. So okay, you succeeded. I think you're an asshole.
But you know what? That goes back to everybody. You know, people do some crazy things for attention. Everybody is suffering from needing attention. So they do those things. Like you said, I don't get 25 likes, my whole day messed up. People go to social media for attention. They post certain things to get attention because at some point in our lives, our mamas didn't hold us enough. They didn't squeeze us enough. They didn't give us enough kisses or something. But it's all for attention.
No,
People do the craziest things seeking attention.
yeah, they see, but it ain't because we didn't get enough attention. We're raising a community of narcissists.
You know, exactly. That's true.
Yes.
Because you know what? People would do the absolute most for a thumbs up and a heart. Like seriously. Or a wild face.
Hold on, let me do that.
Do the absolute. You know what? It was a girl. I was listening to the I like to hear the donkey of the day. Can't even think of the show. The dude that's gay and wear the makeup. The dude that's gay and wear the makeup. Breakfast Club. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
So the donkey of the day, a girl got arrested because her boyfriend broke up with her, and she sent him a message saying that she was kidnapped. And he called the police, and of course, come to find out she wasn't kidnapped. Left a message on his phone saying that she needed the kidnapper needed money for ransom, and she crying. All that for attention. All of that to get this man's attention. People will do the most to get attention.
Yeah.
Well,
you know. I suppose. I mean, shit. What else can you really say? I mean, we got a narcissistic society. We're raising narcissistic children, and we're showing them they don't have to earn anything. And in the poorest condition, you buy them the most expensive shit, and it's basically the show and tell every day of the year. And what do you expect the responses to be? You know, our value system is so fucked up that all we're doing is, we're consistently presenting. You know, I was listening to this song, Charlie Wilson, right? I'm listening to the song. He starts off the song with saying, I have all these cars and all of these houses. I need to share them with something. And then the song goes in, and that's the first time I really listened to the words. You know, the song goes in, he starts talking about all the different things he has to offer a woman. And I'm like, man, you didn't say a damn thing about any of your qualities. And this is the society that we're living in right now, whereas we're judged based on what we have, what access to material wealth we have. And not actually material wealth, just material trinkets, because we don't really have material wealth as a community.
That's right.
We're based on, we based our value system on those things. And since we based our value system on those things, we're struggling to come back to the basis of acknowledging that of character, integrity, having dignity, where those things mean, being an honest person, having a little bit of a dose of humility, being humble, being able to, sacrifice, being able to give somebody more, give more than you receive, to be able to pay it forward. We don't have any of that shit going on in our community to a large scale. And this is why we're struggling so much, because other communities pay it forward. Other communities pay it to make sure that their legacies are taken care of. Do they have narcissism? Yeah, but they can afford to have narcissism. They have safety nets lined up for their communities in case they fall back. You know, just like y'all we were talking earlier, Monique, you were mentioning Tommy Lauren and how she got, she was able to get a foothold. Let's look at the president of the the president-elect, and how his father started him off with $100 million and told him, go ahead, do something with that. I wish I would have. I wish I'd had $1 million. Look, start me off with $105. I might be able to work something out. But you got all these, the entitlements, but they can afford to fall back and fall flat on their face because there's a safety net in place to make sure that they'll get a chance to do it again. We don't have that. We don't have the ability to learn on a job and fuck up and then, get a second chance. And in life, we don't have that chance. And because we don't necessarily understand that we consistently, we're still seeing that illusion of inclusion. We're still seeing that, yes, we can still have our part of the American dream. And for whatever reason, we cannot learn the lesson that these motherfuckers don't like us. That they only do.
We can't seem to learn that. We can't learn that.
We don't want to grasp that. Because we buy into the system that we are the same, but we don't realize we're not afforded those luxuries. I even said last week, when people was out buying those Jordans, that we teaching our kids how to be materialistic and stylish, but how many people showed their kids the bills they paid this month? Look, I paid the rent. This is how I paid the rent. This was the light bill. This is how much it was. This is how much the electric company charged per watt. This. They can't even, they probably themselves don't know how to look at their bill, watch their bill, and see exactly what they're being charged. We don't teach our kids to be financially responsible. We don't show them physically. Then we don't show doing it. How many people this month stood in the line to get them Jordans, but their rent's not paid? Or they're going to the LIHEAP or whatever the company is, the federal agency that pays your electric bill. How many people prolonging paying their electric bill because they know the electric company is not going to shut it off in the wintertime?
What's that
because
agency?
It's against the law. It's LIHEAP, LIHEAP. It's an income-based agency. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with using it, because you better believe white people being there all day long.
I'm gonna try to go get some tomorrow.
Look, but my thing is, you ain't paid your electric bill, but you bought the joints. Why don't you take that money and invest that money and still get them to pay your electric bill?
How about buy some Nike stock?
Exactly. I told that old woman that when she told me her grandson gonna break her, and I said, he gonna break you because you let him. And once I rang all her stuff up, I said, she just spent all that money on Nike gear for a 9-10-year-old, and you could have bought Nike stock. He's standing in the line shooting hoops, playing air hoops. He gonna say, Grandma, you think I could get out of school early and join the NBA? She told him, baby, I don't know what they do. You're not even telling this boy what his chances are, to the point that you don't know what the hell is going on, but you knew enough to stay as a grandmother. You knew enough to stand in the line and get him some joints. You knew enough to come to our store and charge on her store credit card, charge all that money on stuff he didn't need. And you're gonna say he gonna break you. And I told her, yeah, because you let him. I don't feel sorry for you. You don't have to do that. Are your bills paid? What are you doing? I don't feel sorry
for him or anything like that, but I do recognize a couple of things that are going on too. And sometimes it looks like it's just about communication, because I don't know about everybody else, but there was if I think I heard somebody say, it might have been Tyler Smiley, and I don't even like him that much these days, but who said that if white America got a cold, then black America got the flu. And so you can imagine if white America was going through a depression, then black America must have been, a lot worse off. And so when my grandfather came through that, and my mother, came through that, they had a certain mindset about material things that I can't explain. And my mom is really very materialistic, but she worked hard. And my grandfather worked hard to the point that, he worked in the steel mills, and his cancer was a environmental cancer that eventually he succumbed to, and they work hard. So while my mom did ply us with a lot of things that she could afford, and she was happy to be able to afford us with, I saw them work their fingers to the bone. So sometimes I do wonder where the disconnect come in. I mean, for me, I took all that information and I was just like, I don't even want to work as hard as they do. I did. I promise you. I said those things. I don't want to work as hard as they do for someone else. And so my mantra became, just figure out a better way to do this. Get back to some of the things that we were before. It became we industrialized, and it was like, let's send everybody to get a job. It's one of my biggest disappointments when I hear certain black leadership and certain people in the community speak to, oh, we need jobs. We don't need jobs, man. Come on with that mess. Y'all trying to kill us some more. You know what I'm saying? Y'all just try to take us down another path that of insanity. So I do see, as I'm getting older, I do kind of look at that situation and say, yeah, they raised them. They're the reason why they are the way they are. But in order to get that money to buy that stuff, some of these people got to work. They got to do something. And so how they getting their money now? They working hard somewhere.
Right.
True.
Right.
I think for me the bigger tragedy isn't that parents aren't teaching fiscal responsibility or that grandmothers are spoiling their children and parents are encouraging materialism. The bigger problem to me is that nobody is teaching kids to question anything anymore. If you teach,
Yeah, that's true.
if you teach a child to question and you teach a child to think critically, then you don't have to show them how to pay a bill. They will figure it out. They will ask the questions necessary. You don't have to show them how a critical thinking person. You don't have to show them what each line item on a light bill means. They'll call the company. Can you explain this to me? Oh wait, that don't make sense. Hold on. So if that worked like this, then what's this? Like those are the types of conversations that they will have as adults. Critical thinking, question asking adults. But like for me, the bigger tragedy is we teach our children to accept. And that's really the theme of most Black children's lives that I've been a part of. Acceptance. I don't care what it is. I don't care how crazy it sounds. If an adult told it to you, you accept it. And it's just this. So for 18 years, they get blanketed with acceptance, and then we kick them out into the world, and we say, "Why are you accepting that?" Well, for 18 years, that's all I got from you, mama, daddy, grandma, grandpa, uncle, auntie. You told me to accept, and now you're telling me to stop accepting. Okay, well, how do I do that? Now you're trying to teach an adult how to think critically. And that's a lot more difficult than it is to teach a child to think critically. Now you have adults that you have to walk through basic ass situations because their brain doesn't know how to look at its environment, gather its own information, come to its own conclusions, ask questions of its own of its own making, when necessary, and figure things out on his own. Like that whole idea of obedience has just been blown completely out of the water, in my opinion. Yes, children should be obedient. They should be. And children should trust the adults around them. But this blanket level acceptance is an extreme. And that, to me, like, that's the bigger tragedy. I'll say again, every single Black child that I came in contact with when I was mentoring, when I was going to the kids' schools and this, that, and that, and the third, and in Tallahassee, in Delaware, and various other places I was, that was always the thing, except, I showed up at the track one day. I was in a middle school coaching middle school track. These kids didn't know me from Adam. They saw me run a couple laps. The coach ran over. He said, "You look pretty good. You want to help coach?" I said, "Yeah." So I walked over to the kids. They ain't know me from nothing. And I'm asking them questions, personal questions that they shouldn't have been answering. And they're answering. I'm telling them to do stuff. They don't know me, and they're doing it. One dude was whispering to his friends. I didn't even know he had asthma. I overheard him telling one of his friends, "I got asthma. I don't think I could keep doing this." I just had the boy run 3-400s with a 20-second break in between. And this is only their second or third week of track practice. If you got asthma, you're about to die. And it never occurred, the theme of acceptance was so thick. He was scared to even question me enough to say, "I have asthma and you're about to kill me."
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today, matter of fact, about that, just questioning, like critical thinking, being able to put rationale to things and actually think about every aspect of what's going on and not just accepting it. Because it's like cultural. Earlier generations, like my mother questioned my grandmother and ask a critical question about something, especially something that my grandmother didn't know, because you'll get the iron through at you. We still have people who come from the culture like you don't question your elders, and that's
true.
And I was talking to the lady earlier because she's an older woman. I was like, well, how did you learn? She was like, we just learned. I was like, no, but like if I have a question about something and I ask this elder but I'm not supposed to question elders, I will never have critical thinking. I will never think for myself. I will never put myself in a position of power. I will always just go with the flow, because the questioning thing, even if I had that in me, it was beat out of me, especially if I come from a certain culture or a certain generation of certain people, because you can't question adults. And that, I think some of that mindset has still been passed on to our generation, because some people just choose not to question. They just, all right, whatever, just go along with whatever, boss. And that's unfortunate. That's not the mindset that we need. But you know, it is out there, and it's up for us to be able to recognize it and just accept it, but come up with ideas and things that we can do to help remedy these things and counter these ideas and this culture that's toxic to us, that we can see as toxic.
You know what, my auntie got, told me a few weeks ago. I was on the phone with her, and I was saying something, and she told me not to question it because it was none of my business, right? And it was a legit question about some family things that I felt I needed to know, because I do think certain characteristics and behavior are passed down, genetically passed down. So some things I needed to know. I'm 35, and my mom's older sister told me that was not my place, none of my business, and I shouldn't be quit. And I'm like, well, at what point do I become the adult? Like, what point? And don't get me wrong, I was raised in Alabama, and I was always taught that you stay in a child's place no matter how old you were. But it took a lot in me to break that code that was embedded and practiced and beat and taught to me. And that's why I even posted on Facebook the other day that I want my kids to question everything, even me, because I know where I came from, and I know who raised me, and I know everything that the people that raised me wasn't right. And I still have some of that in me. So I need you. We got a thing in our community where if a kid question an adult, they're being disrespectful. But we're not always right. And sometimes they still are looking through a more of an innocent lens. But again, at what point do we teach our kids to think on a critical level when we tell them, or we beat them and tell them not to? I wanted my son to read Darwin's book when he was like 4 or 5. And why would you teach him some atheism? No, I want to introduce him to this because I wanted him to start thinking for himself, not what I wanted him to learn and what I wanted him to believe. But in our culture, you're being disrespectful. You're disrespecting an adult when you say why. Even at my job, I get in trouble all the time because when they tell me to tell a veteran something, my question is, why you want me to tell him that? Why? Well, why that ain't on your pay grade. They ain't got nothing to do with your pay. I still want to know why.
Wow.
Kind of quick.
Yeah.
You know what? I find that a lot of that has to do with the parents anyways. I found that a lot of that has to do with shame. Chill. I'm sorry. I found that a lot of that had to do with shame. When the child asks an adult a question that the adult doesn't know the answer to,
Yeah, they get shamed.
Yeah, they get, they get shamed, they get upset, and I even had somebody, I was listening to two people, and I was in the old folks home when I first heard this. I don't know if the old people came up with it or not, but it was quite clever. And now I realize how progressive they were in their thinking, because they was talking to what I assume was their children about their grandchildren. And they were telling them, you gotta let your babies ask you questions. And the younger people were saying, well, I don't want them to get in the habit of questioning me. What if they're in a situation where, I just need them to react? And the answer that the old people gave them was something that has stayed with me ever since, and they basically said, well, your child ain't stupid. They can tell that in your tone. If you have a certain, if they have a certain level of respect, and they know that if I say, get out of the street, they're not going to turn around and ask me, but mommy, why, and get run over by a car. They can hear it in my tone. You need to get out of the street. Likewise, if we're having a conversation about, relationships, the sun, the moon, the stars, science, whatever, and I tell them that this is the way that is, my tone should convey a message that says, it's okay for you that we're having a conversation. It's okay for you to question me on this. If you have a question, ask it. But in so many cases, and I bring that up because I've heard so many parents, especially my generation parents, say, well, I don't want them to question me. What if I need them to get out of the way or to do this or to do that? And if your child can't,
excuses.
Basically, if your child can't tell the difference between a tone of emergency, you
did a horrible job. You did a horrible job raising your child.
But that's what we run into. But I think a lot of that is shame as well. When children will ask you some motherfucking questions, and they will make you feel stupid, especially if your ego isn't up to par where you can handle saying I don't know. If you got a problem saying I don't know, you don't need to have children. That need to be on the test before you get
it's grown folk.
Here's
grown folk business.
We used to see, like, we couldn't say I didn't know in my house. We got beat for saying I don't know, for real. Like, we got beat. So what I did with my kids, I'm not playing. We got beat. So what I did with my kids is because I don't believe in corporal punishment. And that was another thing with me and my parents, just trying to convince them why I don't whip my kids. But at any rate, I just kind of, from getting beat all the time for saying, if we said I don't know, I kind of taught my kids where, let's go research this. Let's go sit down, find out, why something occurs, and maybe we're gonna learn something together. We know everybody not on the same level of understanding and communication out there. We just got some people that just can't manage to get there, and it does take some, particular type of intuitive parenting skills to just get it halfway right. I'm not even really interested in getting it, all the way right. I'm just getting you to a point where, you recognize, certain things, but you can use your gift of discernment yourself. So, that's just kind of my, logic in there. But my kids do question. I question. My parents did let us question everything. But, one of the biggest things is, my mom would say is, every white person is lying to you. Every white person is lying to you, and that's it. So that was kind of my mindset, going in. And like I said, Pat and I kind of attested to having a situation where you think, oh, my mom's just crazy, or that family member, boy, they own something different. I had that period, but they always stuck with me. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that we can do in our communications to, help some folks, along in that regard, and even you don't have, you're not gonna get all your information from your parents, you know, the bulk of it, but you're not gonna get all your information from your parents. So we should be stewards of instruction, you know,
Right.
setting examples and those things of sort when we see those situations, teachable moments and things like that, because we don't always have it you know, together, especially when you started talking about that parenting thing. But I don't know, shoot, man, I'd have got lit up and sent to bed without no food.
Well, oh damn,
Man, look, like that's how, like,
damn.
comes from that era. Because my grandma, like, I probably about 6 or 7, and my grandma lives in Gainesville, so we had like just got to her house. We came from Tyler, you know, 2-hour drive from Tallahassee, just got to Gainesville, and we got out the car. My mom was asking something, and so like we were raised differently. So we in Tallahassee, Gainesville, so we raised differently than the rest of the family. So I'm asking for clarity, and next thing I know, before I get the last word up, my grandma like on my back, just beating me. And before I can really figure out what's going on, I'm like in the middle of a butt whipping. I'm like, oh Lord, I'm getting beat by this little lady right here. But it's like, you know, don't you talk to no adults like that. And I'm still trying to figure out to this day what I said. I still really have no idea what I said wrong. But you know, it's like you were wrong, and it's come on, people. We have to make sure we do something different. Because I mean, it's like you said, it stunts the way we grow. It stunts our mental growth. It hinders the way we or connect with ourselves. Like I still hate to see older black men who, yes sir, you know, yes, you got to get on out to Miss Charlie way. You got to let Miss Susie come on through. Miss Susie, a good, like, she a good woman. Mr. Charlie, a good man. And then it's like when the white people come, their head kind of down because they still kind of got that attitude or that mindset.
Yes.
And some of that has been passed down. Just like
Yes.
when we were talking about Jim Brown earlier,
That's a quick
and
way for me to see me commit murder if I see
Right.
somebody doing that for real, right?
Right.
I ain't playing.
But it's like, you know, when we're talking about a lot of these organizations that are out there that these men have, wondering are they making strong, like real progressive black men, or just good Negro?
They making good Negroes. I
Right,
say
and so-
that.
And so, like when we talk of, like even with this Jim Brown situation, like they come out and people say, oh, we got to give him Jim Brown the pass because he do a lot of work in the community,
Give him a what?
making
A
good
pass.
young men. But is he making good Negroes though?
Man, fuck that. Jim Brown,
I
appreciate
mean, he don't get no pass from me. His old ass don't get no pass. He gonna get the full gimmick. I don't give a damn how old he is. Yo, Jim Brown, your old ass getting it. You chose your side.
I mean, I respect the past. I respect what happened in the past, but it's the past. And, you know, now we're going to retire your jersey, OG.
Oh yeah.
That shit's over. You tried to make a comeback. It's obvious you don't have it anymore. It's over.
Right.
And then in that same respect, we still need a council of elders. You know, I don't want to
Yes,
negate
real
that.
counsel.
You know, I don't know right now as we sit here and have this broadcast whether or not what the real solutions are to bridging that gap. You know, some of that historical experience, firsthand experience that you know, that has been garnered that we could use in order to strategize and make decisions, because I'm all about the art of strategy at this point, you know, playing chess, playing 4 or 5 moves ahead, that kind of thing. And we absolutely need that connection to those personal experiences and personal opinions, even if we don't agree with what the end result was, being whether it was a plus for us or a minus for us. We still need to hear those spirit experiences and oral history and those things, so that we can hear the reverence in their voice, the emotion, those kind of things, so that we can hold on to some of those things. So I don't want to get so far left with this discussion that we don't make it understand how important that component is for us in order to move forward. We're always gonna move forward. We're going in that direction, and we can't stop. But we don't have to have as many bumps and bruises as we've had in the past if we find a way to bridge that gap.
Oh, I don't have a problem with that. But what I will say is that I didn't get moved by Jim Brown's comment, and I don't get moved by Kanye's actions, and I didn't get moved by the fact that Ray Lewis was
Raven Lewis.
That's it.
Hey.
That's it.
out there meeting with Donald Trump. I didn't get moved by that because I didn't elect these Negroes to be I didn't elect these Negroes to be a leader to the black community and the black cause, and I don't aspire to consistently allow for the promotion of athletes or entertainers to be our soundboard and to be the ones who are declared, the speakers and the shakers in our community. When we have so many people doing so many other things behind the scenes that don't get the recognition because they don't kiss the ass of white daddy. So I'm just more of the mindset that we need to address the culture so that as a community, we no longer look to athletes and entertainers or corporate appointed Negro leaders as people who actually speak for our community. I'm not, I've said that a little while ago, and I'm firm on that. Athletes and entertainers, while if they're contributing to our cause, great. But as soon as they become detrimental, I toss them out like bathwater, because for the most part, a lot of them don't do any research. A lot of them don't have any historical relevance in terms of what we're dealing with, or they have not done the study, and they can't really articulate our issues and the needs for the community. Most of them have been so far removed from the community that they themselves are scared to come back to the hood they were raised in. So, I personally don't take into account anything that's said by either present or former athlete or entertainer to basically worth to see it to where it's worth us even really falling over. I think as a community, we need to start dismissing these things and then letting other members in the community know that these things are not valid, and we're not going to allow for them to put these talking points in front of us to distract us from our true agenda of black empowerment and black independence. So, I don't really care what Jim Brown said today. So what? Let's think about it. He was an athlete, so he was bought and paid for before he became an activist for black people. All right. His spotlight has always been to go into places, he's done a lot for the black community. I'm not going to say he hasn't, but he's also been one of those brothers that's always been, welcoming to a talk show, white talk shows, welcoming to white entertainers. To the mediums, in places where he's getting his. We don't know who's putting money in his pocket right now. So basically, a lot of these people are bought and paid for already. So, they don't necessarily represent us anymore. We need to stop letting them rent that space of alleged black leadership when they haven't earned, where they no longer represent us.
Right.
Right.
Like we're the only groups who let athletes and entertainers get that label as a leader. Like, you don't send no damn athletes to discuss no business for the black community. You don't speak for us and stuff like we always fall for that. Well, they're our leaders. And so that's like so getting everybody who worked for McDonald's to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that. Why not? Why not?
They would be better than
the Let's send everybody who worked for Mac. Whenever we need business deals done, only McDonald's workers go. Now, people gonna have a problem with that. People who catch balls and chase balls for they've been speaking for us. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't even know how smart these dudes are. Like like to play running back, it really don't have to be that smart. Just pick a hole and run. Like, you really don't have to be that smart. So it's like we need to get off the bull, man. And first of all, stop being so needy. We act like we need somebody to lead us. Everybody is capable of doing something.
If we could just get people to recognize the type of conditioning that's being taken place on a daily basis, that seems to be half the battle itself, because those athletes and entertainers get a medium, get an audience because of who they are and the dollars that they've been able to generate for corporate America, that kind of thing. So they get an audience, and it's being fed through a system which they're going to make sure that the words that are said and the messages that are conveyed speak directly to continuing indoctrination of white supremacy, of whatever message of financial illiteracy, so they're going to make sure it speaks to those messages. And so if you know that it's coming from that system, don't trust it. It's kind of, now that I say it out loud. When I was younger and I was saying it out loud, my mom was like, listen, I just don't trust white people. I'm sorry, just don't trust anything they create. Don't, there's
my
first
first race lesson: don't trust white people.
That's it. That was mine. And so now when I think about that, I think of it as the system, saying that there are not very many things at all, if any, that I've been able to recognize that the system has created that will be good for us. You know what I'm saying? So I'll just let that kind of sit over there. And when we see these athletes and entertainers making, suggestions and comments and opinions on social engineering for the same reasons that Pat mentioned, they've removed themselves so far away from the communities that they came from that it's I'm not even sure why we even listening to them in the first place. That just doesn't make sense. I mean, but nonetheless, they get an audience, and we just have to be able to put that into perspective.
Normally, and I agree completely with the professor when he says he's not moved, although I will admit I was a little shocked to hear Jim Brown's comments, because I haven't been following Jim Brown. So to me, Jim Brown 2016 is the same as Jim Brown 1980, 1990. Like, to me, that same Jim Brown. I haven't been following him. So when I heard the comments, I was a little surprised. But I wasn't moved enough to be like, yo, I'm fixing to fucking go mail him a hate letter or something like that. Like, no, it was just, but I do think because they have the platform that they have, there has to be some counter push or something right now until we get a code of conduct, a culture developed in the community. There has to be some pushback. Just letting people know, even if it's as simple as putting out a statement saying we disagree with Jim Brown, he does not speak for the entirety of the community. You know Absolutely. What I'm saying?
Yes.
Right.
But because they have such a platform, but I'm in a complete agreement with the rest of you guys. I don't understand. I don't even understand how these guys continue to be looked at the way they're looked at. Athletes figure, I know it starts out because they have money, and historically they've been the ones that have funded the movements and things like that. They've had the clout. They've been able to make a lot of the big pushes towards success, what we view as success, meaning they've been able to integrate pretty deeply into white America. Which even in that, if we could just change our definition of success from depth in white America to progress for black people, I think that would, we would have to change the definition of progress for black people as well. But if we could shift those two things, that would depower the athlete, entertainer, spokesperson right there, because now they're no longer seen as, a black person that made it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't even understand why we're still at that point, though. I would rather a McDonald's worker from the McDonald's on Holton Street or Texas Street. I don't even know if there's a McDonald's on those streets, but those are black neighborhoods in Tallahassee. I would rather a McDonald's worker from one of those people went and met with the president or the governor or the mayor. At least they live around black people. At least they're in the community. At least they know what's going on. Now, I'm sure there will be some communication gaps there, some because of cultural differences and speaking behaviors, but you know, at least they have an idea. Ray Lewis, the closest he's come to black people, as far as I know, and I could be wrong. If I am, I'm sure Ray will find this and he'll comment. You know, as close as he's come to black people has been the people in his camps and coming through his programs. When was the last time Ray actually lived in the hood?
When he killed when he killed whoever he killed, that was the last time he was in the hood.
Well, exactly. When he was committing murder.
See, you got to be motivated. It ain't about black or white. You got to be motivated.
And we don't want to talk about all that bullshit about I grew up in the hood and this, that, and the third. I don't give a fuck. Are you still there?
No.
You know, like it's different.
Hey, slaves were sellouts on the plantations. Your hood wasn't worse than the plantation. I ain't trying to hear that.
Yeah, you're
I ain't trying to hear that, Ray.
This shit just don't make sense, but that's what they all always fall back on. I grew up in the hood. Well, how long has it been since you left?
So that, so I guess that's
what makes
so growing up in the hood is the prerequisite for being a sellout. Is that what they saying?
In their mind, that's why they think they could better the hood. I'm from the hood and I made it out. Therefore, I can tell the hood what they need to do to make it out.
No,
that's how they rationalize what they do.
That's bull.
They say they can achieve.
We both know it is.
We know they say that what they think. We know what they say we can achieve out of oppression. We know they say that all the time. And
but see, that's bull. What they saying. That's bull. What they're saying because basically how it goes. Like you have a young man from the hood who's a great athlete, and so embrace him. Like a lot of white people embrace him. I'm not saying black people don't embrace him, but white people are the ones kind of usually help these poor black kids to this next level. So they get inundated by white people when they go to college. They're around more white people than black people than you really think. Like these FSU football players, and Jameis Winston had to relearn how to be around black people because they're around so many white people in those environments.
This boy those from environments Alabama, you don't forget that.
Hey, look, no, trust me, and he didn't forget everything. But when he came down here, look, I did not see Jameis Winston once in this city. In 3 years he was here. I didn't see him because he wasn't nowhere. I'm always on the black side of town. He was nowhere. Like these players are inundated with these things, but you have some who may not forget this, but a lot of them they indoctrinated. Man, they're not for us. They don't work for us, and they're not the voice of the community. Just because you come from the hood don't mean that you're the best person to help the hood. There's a lot of people who come from the hood who are disconnected. What about the people who grew up in the hood who was never allowed to come outside, or the people who from the hood, but because there's people who from the hood right now who sit there and destroy the hood. Just because you're from the place, let me have the blueprint to save this place. Because if you had the blueprint to save this place, you wouldn't have left the hood in the first place. And I don't mean like physically left the hood, but you would have still been giving back.
There's all kind of unique experiences.
Say it again.
It's all kind of unique experiences that come out of the situation. Let me tell you, listen, my mom just got up to being, we just one generation. We ain't even with one generation. We still had a foot in there because although she had achieved some things financially, our support system was back in the hood. Our babysitters, our, all our family and everything. That was all hood. You know what I'm saying? I can still sit down. I can still go into Baltimore and to walk around the same neighborhood I was in. All summers and lived up there and did stuff. So even the city I'm in now, I can still go down in the hood and relate and talk to people and communicate with them no problem. You know what I'm saying? Even on different levels. So if people disconnect from it, then that is just a sure sign. Listen, you've been indoctrinated. You have no connection with the
Right.
Black community whatsoever, and you just don't want to have a connection with that, period. Because no matter what my financial status has ever been, I've never took those hoods that been gentrified, purposely targeted for drug enforcement. I've never took my eye off those neighborhoods.
Straight up. But like I say, you are for the hood. Your mentality, you've adopted a mentality, and other people around you adopt the mentality of not just being from the hood or from close proximity to the hood, but actually for the hood. Like when I go into the streets, I ask young men that all the time. Hood, are you for the hood? And they say, well, I'm for the hood. I say, well, what does it mean to be for the hood? And they sit there and look at me for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Because first time somebody ever asked them that, and I was like, well, let me tell you what it means for me to be for the hood. That means for me to spend my time in the hood, helping to make the hood a better place. That means me to spend my time with young men like you, who to help you become a better person. When you see the landscape messed up, picking up trash off the ground, donating your time and your resources, and trying to bring other people in to donate their time and their resources to help make the hood a better place. That's being for the hood. It's not just, oh, I'm trying to hold down this block that I don't really own, and then when the police come, we run. That's not being for the hood. You just a person who occupying space in somewhere where you don't even own. Like you don't even own nothing over here.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the truth. So I'm really excited about the Independence Day project when we start talking about these things, because we gotta put out there what we would like to see. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely want to see those people get invested in their immediate communities and come together as a Black community. So Professor, you want to talk a little bit about the Independence Day project? Just give us something before we check out of here.
It's our project. That's the one
All
thing
right.
I'm going to say all night.
All
It's
right.
not about me. It's about us. When I came up with the concept for What About Us, the organization, it was about what about us. We always look outside of our community for answers and solutions. We often look outside of our community in terms of who we help, who we give a helping hand to. And it's about us looking forward to what we can do for us in our community, how we can build. And the Independence Day Project is envisioning the community that, once we win this battle, once we win this war against this system, this protagonist system of white supremacy, once we win it, what will our community look like unobstructed by any obstacles? So basically, you have to be able to think about what you can put together if there are no barriers, what you can put together and what you can create if there were no limits to your vision. And just like I was explaining to students in my class last night, and it was hard for them to grasp the concept, we have in our lives, we have barriers that are put in place to keep us from being independent, keep us from being free thinkers. And because we have these barriers, whether it's a 9-to-5 job, whether it's trying to stretch money to make it last 2 weeks until your next paycheck, whether it's trying to make sure you have a place to live, whether it's making sure that you have adequate schooling, adequate housing, and adequate food, and all the different limitations that we're placed under because we're not able to see past 2 weeks from now because we don't know what our financial situation might be. We won't see past 2 weeks from now because we don't know what our living circumstances might be. All those things create barriers in our minds in regards to where we are and in regards to how far away we can envision a future for ourselves. So, the Independence Day Project is going to remove those barriers. We're going to start speaking towards where we are, We're going to speak towards the vision as to where we're going, and then we're also going to speak in terms of the steps to get there. And if you need something to compare it to, the one thing you can compare the Independence Day Project in terms of a vision and being visionaries, and we have to accept that, not just being historians, but also being visionaries, is look at 2 different eras that took place in the last 75 years. You had the race to space, which was basically cover for the arms race, developing rockets that could fire intercontinental ballistic missiles, with nuclear warheads on them, but it was disguised as the space race, the race to space. And now you have currently the mission to Mars, the planned manned mission to Mars. And you have the propaganda machine building it up. You also have a lot of different movies, television series, all geared towards creating a competition and creating a vision to build towards. So in these particular visions and some of these mockumentaries that they have going on right now, they actually are talking about where they are today, and then they're giving you a vision of what life would be like if you live on Mars. There's actually a series out right now on Netflix called Mars. I mean, it might be National Geographic, called Mars, where they're actually talking about this. But I think it's available on Netflix. But the bottom line is that's the vision. That's a similar vision to the Black community. If you can envision living on a planet without an atmosphere, without with less than 30% of the gravity that you have here on Earth, and you can create a living circumstances where you can live there, where it's unobstructed with radiation and so forth, conditions that make it an entirely hostile living situation, but yet and still they're planning a vision and envisioning ways to create ways to create rocket propulsion system to get you there that hasn't been created yet. If you can do all that, then why can't we envision a Black community free of white supremacy?
Absolutely.
So that's the Independence Day project, and we're I would say we're 2/3 of the way done with the filming. So, but we still have some more things to go about, and we still have to, I'd like to thank everybody who's contributed to the crowdfund, everybody who's contributed via whether it's seeing me on the street or whether it's through money orders. I'd like to thank everybody who did that. Of course, we still need more funding, but we set up the funding on the website on What About Us. That's www.wauwhataboutus.com, and we still set it up so if anybody's interested in contributing to the project, they can do so there. I'm planning on doing some fundraising events in January so that we can move closer towards our goal. Hopefully the film will be done and it'll be touched up. Hopefully it'll be done by the end of January. Hopefully it'll be done by then. There are several things we're still working on. Some of the artists have contacted me and been giving me their rates. Some of the in terms of scoring the documentary, we're going to work on that. So hopefully in the next 3 weeks, I can really finish up with all the filming and we can start chopping it up and putting it out for distribution. Well, not necessarily distribution, but putting it out so that we can line up a few places to see that people have been inboxing me with different movie festivals that are coming up within the next calendar year. I know, Mo, you spoke to me about a specific Black Actors Guild that actually works towards doing things like that. So we're going to talk about that more so. And in addition to that, we're going to make sure that that this process, that we have this finished product and it's a good product, but not only is it a good product, but that it speaks to the vision that we're speaking of, and that this will catapult the conversation from us just being survivalists, talking about going up and living day to day in the struggle, to actually building towards the solutions. So thank everybody that's on the panel. Mo, you're going to be in the panel. I got Brother Patrick Joe is on the panel, and we have a lot of other people on the panel. We have Sister Kara Poole is just going to be on the panel, who does the Great Griot. It's a very, very good video series. And we also got Brother Aji Tabiemba, who runs Harlem Liberation School and does the Black Liberation University YouTube channel. Got my brother Ron. You see his book behind me, For Real, by Brother Ron, who's an activist and involved in every community that he lives in. Formerly of Brooklyn, now he's down in Virginia. And we have a few other people that we're going to tag into this. And Sister Angie, who is here in Philadelphia, and we got a few other people that we have maybe about 2 or 3 more shoots to do. and we'll be done. And then we'll be on to the next stage, which is breaking, dicing down the film, and making sure we get those 9 areas of activities covered from Dr. Neely Fuller. And that's where we are right now. So we're moving, we're making progress. It's not just sitting on our hands, fam. We're making progress and moving forward. And hopefully we'll have this thing done. Like I said, once we get started, that's the, once we get started chopping it up and breaking down the audio and lining everything up, we'll be in good shape, because then the things start flowing. So we have a few weeks of free time coming up, and hopefully during that time we'll be able to get those things done.
A lot of hard work taking place. That's beautiful. A lot of hard work. So on that note, we got On the Shoulders of Giants, the app, December 25th. Y'all go out there and caught Volume 1 of On the Shoulders of Giants at On the Shoulders 1.
Yes.
.com. Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
On the shoulders1.com. Go cop that book, Volume 1. And look for the app coming out December the 25th. Joe, what else you got going on?
Man, well, like you say, with the book On the Shoulders of Giants, Volume 1, North America is available, as you said, at ontheshoulders1.com. Also, don't forget, like when you buy the book, there's an interactive PDF workbook that accompanies the book. So this workbook can be used on your smartphone, your tablets, your smart boards, at home, homeschool, in the schools, whatever devices you have. It's an interactive PDF workbook that accompanies the book, that helps you learn the characters. So we have those books. We also have the audio book that's on Amazon, and the Kindle version that's on Amazon. But also, as she said, the African History Curriculum app is coming out December 25th. Right now it's for Android only, so my iPhone people got to wait a little bit. We learning the system, but on my Android people, December 25th, it comes with over 100 quizzes, over 100 people profiled, over 500 questions. The app is going to be updated regularly. You're going to be there for years, basically. I'm gonna say for years. Something that I'm designing that'll never get old to you. So make sure you support that. The Freedom Train podcast series. Pat and I host the Freedom Train podcast series. We had an incredible interview yesterday with 3 lovely young ladies, Miss Elise Bethel, Miss Stephanie Glenn, and Miss Mandy Buckman. So y'all make sure y'all go to our Freedom Train website at www.freedomtrainradio.com. Oh yeah, follow me on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram, either at _Freedom Train, or so follow both of those on Instagram. What else we have? I'm trying to think. I'm coming back out. I'm retooling some things with my company, Live Skill, Live Fulfilled, which I domestic violence prevention information, as well as life skills training. So look out for Live Skill, Live Fulfilled to be coming back out with some information. And On the Shoulders of Giants is a nonprofit now. So January 1st, ontheshoulders.org will be launching, and On the Shoulders of Giants as a nonprofit organization is moving forward. And we here to do what we need to do to make our community better. And remember, the Independence Day Project, WAU-whataboutus.com. WAU-whataboutus.com. Support the Independence Day Project, and go to Pacts Inc. For them codes of social engineering, the codes of conduct. To go learn more about it, make sure you visit www.pactsinc.org. Yeah. You're on mute.
Monique, you muted.
Revolutionaries, not reactionaries. All right.
There you go.